What the hell is going on, folks? I am Goat. Welcome back to Warframe. How the hell are you doing? So, had a person ask me in a Twitch chat. Was talking with another streamer, and had a person ask me in a Twitch chat, what's my main frame? Right. Well, I've talked about the whole maining frames. I don't really do that per se. I like to do synergies with frames to mission types. So I don't really stick with one frame. I've got a couple of frames that I use more as like a utility frame, Lavos being the primary of it. But then I do have some mission-specific stuff, right? Let's look at it. Shouldn't take too terribly long because it's going to be more descriptive than anything. So, and there is one I fucking got to list in here as a potential. So, the frames that are highlighted as favorites are my go-to frames for mission-specific stuff. Okay? So, for general utility, energy reduction, sortie missions, general helping assist priming damage upon enemies, so the rest of my squad can do stuff. I can definitely solo with him. Lavos is a very, very solid frame. The particular loadout setup, the melee tends to change here and there. But for the most part, this is pretty much my normal setup. I'm still running. I've actually changed the arcanes around a little bit to fit just a little bit more of a taking a beating style. So mixing old and new, but still using Valence Formation. Works very, very well. And the Code Base Assist is just absolutely fucking hilarious with Valence Formation, priming it with damage types. So it's fucking fun. General utility frame, not using energy, and just basically just right off the get, you can just start tearing shit up with them. Very good frame. Some people shit all over him. All I ever say is just try him before you say fuck off. Calervo. Now, I use Calervo. I have said it time and time again. I use Calervo in a very, very different basis than what most people do. I use Calervo on a defensive basis. Now, I do have an offensive basis, or an offensive base build. I've actually got two. But this is my normal run-of-the-mill Calervo build, right? So the shards are strength, strength, duration, duration, and duration, which you would think I would want to dump more into strength. There's really no need. And duration is very much helpful with something on a defensive basis from like Storm of Vuko, especially when you start getting into negative efficiency stuff, but you don't want to sit there and try to build in for equilibrium because you do want a lot of range. And you don't really have the space for the equilibrium shards, which leaves you running something like Death Cube and Energy Generator, things like that. So having Nourish on here definitely makes a whole hell of a lot of difference. Now, do you need to be running Steel Charge? No, he does a lot of melee damage, especially with the crit buff that he gets anyway, so you could just as easily put Energy Siphon or Dreamer's Bond on here, or whatever the hell you want to. The aura is kind of the sky's the limit on that. But no, this is just my general build. 292% ability strength, 250% ability range, tanked efficiency, but that's fine, and 173% duration thanks to, you know, an additional 45% on with the shards. And then Molt Augmented to build up and cause even more fucking slash damage and give yourself more overguard, both of which is very, very good. So this isn't all he's good for. Like I said, I've got a range strength build, which is his normal kit on here, 100%, which is solid, you know, because it's basically the exact same build except for Arcane Furies on here instead. But it's actually using his third ability, and then I have Wrath of Uko, which is definitely the original kit, and this is literally just bringing the party to to the doorstep of the enemy without tanking the efficiency. That's the big difference, is that you do not want to tank the efficiency with this build, because he can get very, very energy hungry, considering, in my personal opinion, aside from his Wrathful Advance, his third and fourth ability are his two best if you're using them in tandem, and they both cost the most. So you don't want to take the efficiency with this. Just saying. But yeah, no. Let me go back to my normal Nourish Strength build. Bingo bongo. So, sleuthy stuff, captures, and rescues. And then ribbon cracking. Specifically, wall latch ribbon cracking. Loki's passive gives him more time, 10 times longer than normal. So when you get the missions that say, you know, kill so many enemies while you're latching onto a wall, Loki is your boy right here. Especially if you have something like the Kuva Nucor or the Tenet Cycron that will chain to multiple enemies, or the Amprex even, Tenet Galaxian, all of these things. Find like a mission with like Infested and just murder the meatbags easily and quickly. General build for this is nothing but duration shards except for the yellow, and that one is parkour speed, parkour velocity. And then the build is very much just this. Stay silent, have a metric fuck ton of duration. Range doesn't mean jack shit, because the most that you're going to do with the range is literally basically create a decoy and then switch teleport with it to get past certain barriers for spies and things like that. Now, there are other builds, okay? There is, like a decoy build, so it's using damage decoy coupled with, guess what, mind control. That I brought that up in a previous video. This is actually a hilarious setup. Again, hushed invisibility is kind of important for this because there's really no survivability built into this, but basically, mind controlling an enemy, mind controlling an enemy and then making that enemy into a decoy is fucking hilariously funny. Because they get real, okay? They wholeheartedly get very real. You don't lose much duration with this, so you end up keeping that fucker for quite a period of time. You also have the general survivable, safeguard switch, which is just the pure, invulnerable build for Loki, which is just like the God mode build within reason, and it's just more weapons platform, and then basically switch teleport whenever you're about to have problems, and then you can disarm enemies and make it even easier. So yeah, that's kind of the thing. But Loki all around is a pretty well-rounded frame. Some people keep begging for reworks. I'm just over here going like, nah, whatever. Nezha. Now, Nezha is my primary disruption and Archon killer. Now, long-term endurance runs, is Nezha the best frame? No, but he's also not the worst. Because of his scaling warding Halo, scaling with incoming damage, albeit, yes, you can still take health damage, so something like, Arcane Grace is very good, and especially if you're going to be taking it longer and heavier, because you're going to be having more incoming damage. So stuff that does slip past warding Halo, you're probably going to want to run something like, like Arcane Blessing to pick up health orbs. That way you've got more health to give Arcane Grace more time to trigger. But aside from that, this particular build is pretty damn solid. And funny enough, the shards are almost completely unnecessary. So you've got some energy max, which that is helpful. Max energy field on spawn, not necessary. Max energy field on spawn, not necessary. And then ability strength. You can literally stick nothing but armor shards on here if you want to, and run Arcane Battery instead. That's completely fine. You can run nothing but ability strength shards on here and go stupid with warding Halo, and not have to quite mod in the way that I have. But this particular way is just a general fuck you build. Okay, I call it my Archon killer build. It is what it is. It's also a pretty damn decent assassination build, and this primary function of this is 3 abilities. Okay, it is Blazing Chakram, applying a fuck ton of damage vulnerability to an enemy, warding Halo for just base survivability, and obviously the stacking absorption multiplier that happens whenever you're being shot when you're casting this, and then Roar for just pure factional damage output, and then, as you can see, it's a pretty sizable amount. It's a good time. Now obviously you see I have other stuff here. Like the Sortie Disruption is literally just a bunch of energy. It's Arcane Battery, it's Prime Flow, it's whatever the fuck I can stick on that thing, and it's for the energy energy reduction disruptions. That's all it is. So yeah, so there's that. The weapons are kind of whatever the hell you want to run. Last video you saw me running this exact setup for the disruption at Armistice at the Sanctum. Does quite the easy job. Just basically fling the 2, hit Roar, bingo bongo, shoot the enemy, they fucking die. Good time. Revenant is typically my primary 2-part frame. Part number 1 is if I'm stuck doing nothing but Netrocells, I could just solo carry the key cards and kind of do my thing, right? Part number 2 is that he is also my primary assassination frame. Basically, Mesmer Skin, because I've got an Assassinate build and then I've got a Netrocell build. So the Assassinate / Cascade build is this. Now, The Cascade side, I actually do change from Arcane Acceleration to fuck, I can't remember what the hell I haven't had to change it in quite a while. Honestly. Is it Avenger maybe? No. Because you don't take damage. It was Precision. I'm almost positive. Yeah, Precision is one. Or Rage. Depending on what weapons you're running, like Rage was the one, because Rage is really good with like shotguns and shit. So like running like the Fellarks, start headshotting a boss, they die. But the Netrocell build is this because you just, well, here, look, actually, it's right fucking there. Acceleration for a massive increase of fire rate and then just a shit ton of critical damage because headshots are also weak points. So, like, if you're doing Netrocells or if you're doing, Deep Archimedia or anything like that, you're going to just basically mow enemies down almost regardless of whatever enemy or what weapon you're running. So yeah, there's that. And like the index build that you see is literally, it's quite funny. It's a dispensary build. That way, if you come out and you don't have much energy, just collect one of the energy orbs you left behind. It's a good time. You run a long time that way. Hildren. Now, a lot of people are going to think hijack, right? That's true. Hijacks. Hijack is Hildren's bread and butter. That and Protea. Protea is extremely good at, hijacks. And like you see, Protea is not even in this list. Protea is, where the hell is she? Right there, underneath it. But I personally enjoy using Hildren more for hijacks just because she's got a lot larger shield pool. But also mobile defenses and defenses, especially if you're with a squad. Because anything without Overguard is all fucked up. They don't like it. Anything with Overguard, I have secondary Fortifier on her Balefire. So they aren't going to have Overguard for very long, and they're going to get lifted up like everything else. So it's a good time. The build. I did make a change, funny enough, because I was doing an infested defense, and I came across the obvious problem that I wasn't thinking about. And most, 99% of the infested out there don't have armor. And I go into a mission just being funny, running Hildren, and I realize, oh yeah, I can't pillage any armor because they don't have armor and shields, right? So I actually finished the mission, survived, and I threw Condemn on here. Yeah, and I've been running it ever since. It's actually been a good time. And the reason I did is because Condemn gives me the shields that Pillage won't. Is there a ton of different shit that you can do on here? Yes, like Roar, Thermal Sunder, there's all sorts of things you can put on there. But for something like with Infested, Condemn is probably a really good way to go. Or at least something like the Murmur as well. Like the Rock people, they don't have armor either, so there's nothing to pillage. So it's really helpful for them. Or if you've already pillaged armor and your shields are still taking damage from behind you or whatever, Condemn is a really good kind of oh shit button for Hildren. But, I mean, the build is pretty straightforward, It's just, Arcane Aegis, Arcane Blessing, Aerodynamic and Aviator, pretty standard. You can put Adaptation here if you want to. I personally like the efficiency and the shield capacity. That's pretty helpful. The rest of it, it's just pretty obvious, some range, a whole lot of efficiency, some ability strength. You could do Molt Augmented and actually end up, not running Aerodynamic. You just run Aviator and then put Corrosive Projection on here, get a little bit better buff. But you're not going to get close enough for a single pulse of Pillage to Armor Strip. And the way armor is anymore, it's really not that necessary. 2 pulses and you're going to rip their armor off anyway, so it's a good time. Balefire Charger, pretty straightforward. Showed it before. Secondary Fortifier, Eximus show up. You'll still be able to just rip their Overguard clean off, and then you can Condemn or Pillage, whatever the case may be of enemy type, and then it's just Viral Electric. Have a nice day. Yeah, good time. Dante. Now, I just showed this in the, what was this? Yeah, and I'm running the Grimoire plus Noctua. It's funny. Dante, I just showed this setup when I was doing the video about should there be any hate towards the Wrathful Advance and melee influence thing. But I mean the build is pretty damn straightforward, right? Like we're building heat procs from Noctua. We're using Summoner's Wrath to help buff the birds. Equilibrium to get us some energy. Arcane Precision because it's easy as hell to get headshots with Noctua. Arcane Velocity helps speed that damn thing up. The rest is kind of Bob's your uncle. I mean, like, the only thing you might think about changing is preparation if you're not that worried about starting the mission out with energy. I like starting the mission out with energy without using shards. So I could sacrifice a little bit there. Shards being strength, 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 and then casting speed, because his casting speed is a little slow. And then the Noctua build is a secondary innervate, speed fire build. So you couple, arcane velocity with anemic agility plus arcane innervate and then some base damage. It's a real good time. Obviously we're doing like, 1.5 times the heat damage, almost 1.5 times the heat damage. That, or at least, basically close to. So hence why we're gonna pop off arcane Archon Vitality because, it's an ability. There you go. That's Dante. And he's good for squad support as well by granting regenning Overguard. Ureli, base, exterminate, survivals, you fucking name it. This chick just does not give a shit. And all it takes is, quite simply, Loyal Merlina. Now, if you like the K-Drive option of this, that's fine. You do you, boo-boo. That's fine. Is Vitality necessary? Absolutely not. It's just kind of a little comfy thing for me in case I forget to cast Merlina. Like, if I wanted to put one more format in her, could I just put, like, Umbral Vitality instead of regular Vitality and at least give myself a health and strength stack instead? Absolutely, I could. But do I wanna? Like, that's the kick. Do I really wanna? Because the only real feasible location for that, because I need 4 points, right? And I'll get that if I forma for where Cunning Drift is. And as you can see, no build there. Nourish build here, which is fine. Breed Surge build, which is my preferred. So it's like both of those loadouts have Cunning Drift, but depending on what future augments come and the fact that this is, about to probably be the next prime frame, I really just don't want to dump more format in her right now until I know for sure what the next prime frame is going to be. She's definitely coming soon regardless, unless they just play the old switcheroo on us again. But this build is just another one of those absolute tank builds. I mean, like, she, Merlina just sits there and acts somewhat like Warding Halo. Does stack up some damage by getting shot when you are casting it up, and it's a good fucking time. So, yeah, I mean, overall, it's a good time. She works quite well. Especially Breed Surge coupled with her Riptide. Pretty damn funny. Or sea snares are good. I mean, there's just not much to hate about this. Like, the shards are corrosive damage, because I'm armor stripping with it, with the Glaxian. And then I have just regular strength, and then I do have parkour velocity, but that one is completely unnecessary. Put another ability strength on there. You can put duration on there. You can put whatever the fuck you want to on there. Honestly, adding duration, not so good. So, like, even like an equilibrium shard would be fine. It's kind of whatever you want to do. But yeah, that's kind of Ureli. It's a fun time. Squad support, defensive items, Frost. Frost is a very, very interesting frame, and I'm going to point out why my build is what it is and why I'm running what I'm running, because I know somebody's going to question a thing. So the shards are strength, 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 casting speed, because I'm telling you right now, if you don't put any of the shard on Frost, do at least 1 Tau Forged or 2 regular Amber shards on him for casting speed, because dear God, his casting speed still sucks. And then just 1 singular Tau Forged Equilibrium shard. Obviously, you can see I have Nourish on here. I'm using the Tenet Glaxian specifically for energy regen, but the build, okay? And I'm going to point out why this is what it is, because you can see it has an Omniforma in it. And it was because this was actually formed for a Zeneric, because I used to run Biting Frost. Okay, now you could run Freeze Force. Okay, Freeze Force does have some interesting applications in here, so you could absolutely do this. I don't do it because I want ability strength. I want Overguard. I want I want Nourish to have as much as humanly possible, and I want to stack up even more with Molt Augmented. And if for some reason my Overguard breaks, I want enough health to survive being able to start recasting this shit. The downside to this build is that it is very expensive as far as energy to get your shit back, hence the equilibrium shard, but not having equilibrium on the build, because you do need some range too. You know, like you need a little bit of duration because you don't want your popsicle people to stop being popsicles too fast. But yeah, you don't want nourish to run too short because like at 112 or 27.88 seconds, so it's kind of a fairly frequent recast. But yeah, energy siphon coupled with nourish and Zenric usually does the job pretty good. Now the problem with biting frost is this, okay? It's the last 3 words of the augment. Okay? People, for some reason, just kind of tend to forget the last 3 words of this augment, and they just go, oh, big PP, right? Big PP numbers, 200% critical chance, 200% critical damage against frozen enemies. You can't shoot across the fucking room with a Kufa Brahma and expect to get that kind of output. They ain't going to be popsicles unless you are max range setup. So they need to be frozen for you to get that. So for me, Icy Avalanche, coupled with just building into a bunch of ability strength and a respectable amount of ability range, really does do the kick well. Plus, you are throwing Overguard onto your squad, which, let me tell you, when it comes to like EDA and ETA, good God, anything that gives Overguard is a good time. Steinex, fucking, you know, Frost, Dante, all of them. It's a good time. Like, people like you if you are giving Overguard. Kind of helps alleviate some problems in all of those respects. Natural Cells, EDA, ETA, all of it. Frost is a really, really interesting frame to run. Octavia. Now, Octavia is hands down one of the most broken frames in this game. She's also one of the most boring frames in this game. I'm not going to front and act like it's something different. It is not. But the general function behind Octavia is, you know, a lot of duration, a good amount of ability range, a good amount of ability strength, not a ton, and efficiency's kind of whatever. Now you don't want to necessarily tank it unless you're doing something to curb it. In my particular position, if I end up, you know, throwing the mallet in the wrong direction, you know, or accidentally double cast or some shit like that, because there's sometimes we all just kind of get a little button happy. You know, I have Nourish on here, coupled with Zenric, coupled with her passive. So, replenish 30 energy over 30 seconds for Octavia and allies within 15 meters when abilities are activated. So basically, you activate an ability, and you're going to get 30 energy back. So you do get a little bit of replenishment back there. You know, but the build, pretty damn straightforward. I mean, a fuck ton of duration, and then we're adding more with multi-efficiency. So, I mean, shit lasts a long fucking time, man. You know, some strength, decent amount of range, and as long as you stay out of the way of bullets, you can farm acolytes for hours if you want to, and just get a shit ton of steel essence. You can also just generally survive in defense missions and aggro enemies towards the mallet instead of towards your defense target, as long as you have a good location to throw it to. Otherwise, they're still going to try to shoot the defense target. But Octavia is a very, very good frame that I tend to use a pretty damn fair bit. Wisp has, in my opinion, 2 functions. Okay, squad support and defections. Now, that's not to say that that's all she does. That's what I use her for. And I have 2 primary builds that are basically almost identical builds. They may actually be identical builds. Not quite. So I have this build, which is actually all 3 umbral mods, but 1 is empty, but is a shit ton of ability strength, but it's also a bunch of health. And it's a pillage build. Okay? Now, the reason why we are quite generally concerned with pillage being what it is because guess what? We're at 82%. So as long as you're at like that 330% mark, you're at 82% armor reduction, coupled with corrosive projections minus 18% armor. It's pure armor strip right from the get. So it's a good time. And all you need is a blank umbral fiber to make that happen. And yes, I have 2 umbral mods in here. This was from a long time ago, and I went ahead and did it when I got Wisp Prime and then realized, probably shouldn't have done that, but it works. And then I've got my general Nourish build that I use for a little bit more of a utilitarian purpose, not near as much range, good duration, you know, ability strength is just a little bit higher, but overall this is just generally Like, you know, for defections, this is perfect because you basically just turn, you know, the little Kavor guys into crack babies because of how fast they move. You know, 72%, you know, fire rate increase or speed, and then 108% fire increase, even though their fire is bullshit. Making them move 72% faster just makes the mission get quicker. So, works for me pretty good. And then the squad support in itself, like the pillage build, especially pillage coupled with, you know, health and haste modes, just really doesn't. Squad mates don't mind it at all. Titania, this is my primary relic cracker. Under 99% of the time, this is the frame that I will take into relic cracking. And I either use my Zada's build or I use my Thermal Sunder build. So, Firefly. Basically go through and just Thermal Sunder, Thermal Sunder, Thermal Sunder, have a nice fucking day. Is there shit you can change on here? Abso-fucking-lutely there is. There's really no need. Because the most problem you're going to have is maybe some energy issues. That's about it. But really, it's just ability strength, a little bit of efficiency, and a pretty damn decent amount of ability duration. And this is just death. Because Zada's Whisper will cause Dex Pixie as bullets to basically bounce around like mags, you know, magnetize until the corrupted enemies are vulnerable to damage, and then the bullets hit them and they die, and so you get the chance of getting your fissures really quickly. Works pretty damn well. Just saying. Atlas. Funny enough, Atlas, I have one particular build that I think is hilarious as shit, and it's a pure index support build. So if you want to run a really long goddamn time at the index, and you got one person that does not mind being bored, yeah, I have a tectonic fracture dispensary build. So your entire goal running this is to put three walls around your side of the map and block off enemies from being able to score on you at all. And it makes them come to you trying to score, so then you can kill them while you're guarding this damn thing. That's one. And then for two, constantly keep up with dispensary, because whenever everybody else is scoring coins, you're just dropping energy orbs like a fucking crackhead to help people regen the energy that they've lost because of the tax deficit on energy per the coins they carry. So this is a pure support build for the index, but I swear to God, it is hilariously funny how well this works. Credit to MonsterMan for at least part of that build. And then the last two, Caliban. Caliban is very, very, very good for not really getting shot, right? Like, because of his rework, the Sumulus pretty much has just aggro the bejesus out of everything but acolytes. But the Sumulus also do prime the acolyte with the Tau damage, so that does help them take more status damage as you hit them. So it does help you kill them quicker, but the acolyte really doesn't give a shit about the Sumulus. But defense and mobile defense specifically, Caliban is actually pretty damn good at those missions because the Sumulus just aggro everything away from the defensive target. They just kind of hover around you, feed you shields, and keep everything from fucking your day up. So it's really just kind of hard to get mad at. And then finally, Anaros. Now, this is going to seem really fucking weird why Anaros isn't my top use. And it's specifically for cracking one fucking ribbon. And it's an annoying ribbon. The finishers per day, or finishers per mission, anything that involves finishers, this is your boy right here. Okay? You build this motherfucker however you want to. Range is good. Ability strength is definitely good. But basically, tornadoes, hit the activity button, bingo bongo, have a nice fucking day. That's it. So those are my frames. So folks, I want to thank you very much for watching. As always, we'll catch you in the next one. All right.